and 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 we left at that point, but one of our friends that was from Park Rose High School didn't get up and leave right away, and they had a comic on there about the cat. It was a pornographic short on pornography, etc.
Okay.
And so he had stayed. We got out before they ever showed that. And he said he got into a great hassle with his administration, but they didn't fire him over that. And but that was fun.
Yeah.
But it was of no value. And one time, you might have been in on this, I don't remember, Marty Sathoff told us about it was a convention year, and she said, you got to go to Lewis and Clark on Wednesday, because they got a Harvard professor is going to be there to talk about feminism and politics. And it sounded good because it was the Women's Caucus was interested in going and so on. So we took Metro Congress to that. And it was sitting in the gym, and the professor was down on the floor. And they turned off all the lights, and then they had a screen there, and he started showing pictures. And the pictures were about apes. And I thought, okay, well, they're going to get to humans pretty quick. And they went to apes, and apes climbing around in trees and so forth, and monkeys. And then they went to apes having sex, and how they propagated, etc. And then they went to people, and I realized, oh, Jesus, I mean, this has nothing to do with politics. It's something to do with just sexual things. And so I said to Merle, we gotta
go.
Get out of this one. Or Bill Presley. And so we tried to get a hold of our kids, but it was on the gym, and it was pitch black in there, except for the lights. And so we went around talking to all of our students, meet us in the hall, etc. And if you see other kids, tell them. I remember leaning down and saying to one woman sitting there, come on, and says, let's go out in the hall and talk for a while. And she looked at me, and I, oh, sorry. But anyway, we got the whole class out there for some reason or other, and I said, we can't finish this, because that was the time when school district was very hot on the idea of sexual things.
Oh, I think that's still the case. I think that's still the case. You can show violence in the schools today, but you can't show anything sexual.
But and as a result, we never heard anything from that either. And we said to the kids, we just soon have you not talk to parents about this, or at least don't have them complain to the administration. Oh, and then we had one kid from Sweden who, at Lewis and Clark right there, said, okay, now, why are we leaving? Because we have stuff like this in school all the time in Sweden.
Yep.
He was exchange student. We said, well, yeah, you can do it there, but that's not valid here.
Right. Whereas there, you can't show much violence. Here, we show violence, but not that.
Yeah.
I want to keep an eye on the time. It's 5:10.
Yeah. It's 8:30 after 5.
Is that all right with you? I think I probably should. I'm going to see how long it takes me to get back. If there's any traffic, I want to make sure I can help Emily with putting the kids to sleep and such. Actually, traffic's not too bad right now. A bit unusual that it's so easy. I can probably stay another 10 minutes.
What?
I can probably hang another 10 minutes or so. But that's about it.
If
we
if
can
in the
continue
future
this again.
you think of things that would be interesting to talk about, we could do this again.
We should do this again.
Also, there are some interesting things that are valid as far as the convention and politics are concerned that would be of interest, I think. Who are you going to show this to?
Who do you... Well...
What?
Is it top secret? Who? Is anything that you said top secret that I should cut out?
No.
Okay.
No.
So when I post, so I had asked people for questions that I should ask you. And so I told people that I was going to be interviewing you, and some people asked some questions. And so some people are sort of expecting a response. So, but that's, I think it would be, I think a lot of people, here's the thing, when I posted that picture of the podium, I didn't know how many people were going to respond to that. If it's just a picture of my kids or something about what I'm doing that weekend, maybe 40 people will comment, or 50 people. That was 5 times as much. And so there's clearly a lot of people out there that still think about you and are really sort of excited about the idea of seeing a picture of you. So I think there's people out there who would also be interested in seeing parts of this. Maybe not the field trip part. We could cut that out. Now, some of it would be interesting. I think your thoughts on Cruz and Trump and the convention, I think that's pretty timely. I think that might be interesting to make a cut of it and put it online. But, I mean, it's your word, so I don't want to do it if you don't want me to.
No, it's fine. Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah.
I've never done anything in the classroom that, with a couple of exceptions, that were crude.
Yeah. No. I mean, like what you were saying just a moment ago about, I was asking you questions about Cruz and Trump.
Yeah.
And how you would have run the convention this year. Stuff like that, I would.
Yeah.
I think it would be pretty interesting for people to see because, the tens of thousands of students who have done the convention over the years, this year with all this talk of a contested convention, we have a leg up on the rest of the country because we actually know what that is.
Yeah.
And so I think it would be interesting for them to hear back from you. I mean, they might not have had you in 40 years.
Yeah.
So that would be quite good.
That's interesting you mentioned that because about 2 weeks ago, they actually had cameras at the maybe South Dakota caucuses. I think that was where it was when they showed more detail of how they were functioning and so forth. And then later, a week ago or so, in the Washington caucuses, and that was something that I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
It was very
what the inside of a caucus looked like.
Yeah. Of what it was doing and how they did it, etc. Now I knew the academics of it,
right?
But they like in Washington, I think South Dakota also, they had just tables set up in a gymnasium or something like that. And each table was for a candidate. And just when I saw it, it was the Maddox show.
Rachel Maddow.
Yeah. And they had probably 12 of the candidates still alive at that point. And they had a table with a name there, and everybody that came was supposed to go to the table of the person they supported, and then they could talk back and forth with the idea of trying to influence people to go to their table.
Right.
And at 8 o'clock or something in the evening, then at that point everybody had to turn in the vote of how many people they had showed up there. Now in South Dakota, it was rotten to the core. I believe this was South Dakota. Anyway, they charged people to go in there and vote.
Really?
Yeah, which is the same as a poll tax.
Yeah, it's a poll tax. Exactly what that is.
And that just seems ridiculous to me. And I don't know how they called it, but nobody seemed to question it. They just went ahead and did it. But there weren't many people showed up either. That was the problem. So and
Huh.
so
Now that I mean that's pretty unconstitutional.
yeah, I know. You'd think somebody would have whimpered about that.
Yeah, well, most people don't want to be the one that complains, no matter what it is.
Yeah, no, I know, and I can't remember how much they were charging him, but it was enough that to keep a poor person from going.
Well, that's the whole point, right?
So
I was going to ask, when we were talking about the convention earlier, was there a year that was particularly successful? Successful. Or fun? Or were they all equal?
I think they were probably all equally okay.
Because I did it in 96, and in 96, no candidate came in person.
Right.
I ran the Alan Keyes campaign, and Alan Keyes phoned in, but that was as close as it got to someone coming in. I started a rumor, I think I've told you about this, because I was running the Keyes campaign, and the Dole campaign was very popular.
The whose?
Bob Dole's campaign.
Oh, yeah.
It's quite popular. So I started a rumor, with probably some people's help, but I just don't remember now whose, that Bob Dole would come, but he would not take questions from students.
Oh.
He would only take questions from adults. Whereas when Alan Keyes calls in, he'll take questions from students. And that got, I just sort of planted in a couple of places and didn't push it, and then it went shh. And then the Bob Dole people got so mad because they're just like, one, Bob Dole's not coming, and then two, so people are going to be disappointed thinking that he's going to come and he doesn't come, and then two, you make it seem like he is sort of skeptical of the whole process and critical of students. I said, I know.
Yeah,
that
the
was
teachers up there, that was from, Dole was for Grants Pass High School, and they were interested too. They were sitting there hoping that they would win, but they lost by.
Who'd they lose to? Forbes? Who won that year?
Forbes?
Who won the '96 convention? Do you remember?
I can't remember.
Oh, okay. I just assumed that Dole won eventually, but I don't know. I know that we went and got a third of the delegates, which is amazing, because it's Alan Keyes and he's nuts. But
well, it's always better when a candidate shows, but the Dole people, it went the total number of ballots that we could go with the time we had, and they were really disappointed that because they only lost by a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And
they must have lost to Forbes, Steve Forbes. I don't know who else was running that year.
Forbes was running?
Yeah.
Huh.
Isn't that right? Steve Forbes? The flat tax?
Yeah. No, I know. I was just thinking whether it got down to where he was still running at the convention.
Oh, yeah, no, he was running at the convention. I just don't remember who won the convention that year.
Was Dole running that year?
Dole, yeah, we've just been talking about Dole running.
I mean, not. I didn't mean to say Dole, but
Who are you thinking?
Yeah, I can't.
George Bush? No. Lamar Alexander was also quite popular that year. I remember that.
I'll look this up here and then.
You got a file folder somewhere?
I've got detailed material on each convention.
Is that right?
Yeah. The only reason I did that, by the way, was just to keep tabs of the names of people that were participating. I mean, the staff, so that I could call them and see if they're interested in the next year.
Right.
And almost everybody was.
Sure, of course. Why wouldn't you? Well, let's do this interview thing again soon.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
fine.
the next week or two or something soon. I mean, why not? It's just hanging out and talking anyway. I wanted to ask you, maybe we'll hold it for next time in the interest of time, about I guess just your relationship with Christianity. I mean,
With who?
With Christianity. With being Christian. Because I remember as a high school student, the rumor went around that Mr. Barlow taught Sunday school.
Yeah.
And that just seemed ridiculous to us. And it turns out it was sort of true because it was a philosophy class. But I guess I was just kind of curious, like, what effect being Christian has had on you.
Well, I taught Sunday school for probably, I don't know, 65 years. But when I say Sunday school, most of the time, I did it when I was in high school or college for kids. Then I started with adults.
Uh-huh.
And it was really a philosophy class.
Right.
And occasionally students would ask me about that, you know, how's it possible you could be a teacher of Sunday school when we know your philosophy? And there was no contradiction. I explained to students that I didn't go with the stuff of what do you call it, of the
doctrine.
What?
Doctrine.
Doctrine. You know, a doctrine was really screwed up with churches. I mean, all the churches have different doctrine, and they all claim to be Christians, etc. And so I said that I'm interested in truth. And one time a lady came to my philosophy class. We had about 15 people in the class.
Mm-hmm.
And it took place before church. I did that for years. And she came and sat down, and then halfway through the class she said, I would like to say something, and she said, this doesn't sound much like Christianity to me. And I said, madam, I said, we're not interested in Christianity here, we're interested in truth. And sometimes my fine humor didn't appeal to people real well, and she got up and stomped out, never came back.
That's good. But I mean, I know that you say you're not interested in doctrine, but did your faith or your relationship with the church change you in some ways? I mean, do you feel like that's I wouldn't say it changed you, but do you think that that's a sort of an important part of who you are? Is the fact that you're Christian and you have this long relationship with the church?
Well, it's just that, you know, it is. I mean, I liked my church activities, and it didn't bother me that I didn't believe everything that people in the church believed. You know, and like I don't know. There was a great question at virgin birth and the resurrection, and when what's his name wrote the book.
Which book? A lot of books have been written.
I can't remember his name, but there were two guys that wrote books in the last 10 years that were trying to discover how the New Testament got written and why, etc. Okay, and the first guy that did this, he had written about 15, 20 books, but on the last one he wrote, he had the very beginning, the first page of the book, he listed about 30 items of would you call it the things they believe. What do you call that?
Tenets? Religious tenets?
What?
Tenets?
Yeah, the tenets of what they believe.
Uh-huh.
But it's the word you used.
Doctrine.
Doctrine. Okay. Every church has doctrine that's different. Okay, and so he said, I want you all to understand before you read this book, and he listed the things, and he said all of these doctrine things, there were about 34 of them,